So for this week's issue, I said it was an issue, but topic I want to cover is episodic gaming, mainly due to the fact that this past week saw the release of the first episode of Resident Evil Revelations 2, and it's been received pretty well, but not overwhelmingly good, which is sort of not what I was hoping. But then also, in terms of the release schedule for this, sort of exactly what I was hoping. So, if you don't know, Resident Evil Revelations 2 is being released in a episodic form for the next... obviously it came out last Tuesday or Wednesday, depending what platform you're on. And then episodes 2, 3, and 4 come out over the next 3 weeks. And then after it will come the actual full retail release, which is obviously more expensive because you're buying it like that, because it's a physical edition. But the snag that I have here, along with other things which I'll get to, is the physical disc edition has exclusive features that are not part of the digital version. Even if you get the season pass and just get all four, you pay for all 4 immediately, and they get added to your account week on week, rather than downloading them individually, you won't get the bonus feature unless you buy the disc, which is resorting to those impatient people having to buy the season pass for $20. I think it's roughly there, like 20, 25, and then buying the retail release for $30. Well, why do you think I have a problem with that? Well, then if you think about that, it's a $60 game for something that you're buying twice. This isn't like Order 1886, like I went on a week or so back, when it was all about it's a 7-hour or so game and that's it, if you want to replay it. This would be the equivalent of, each of the chapters, the 16 or so chapters that are in it, like you get 4 every time, and once you've done those 4, you have to wait a week, but then at the end of those 4 weeks, then the retail release comes out, and let's say the retail release has certain guns or whatever that aren't available in the digital version. It really is just a giant flashing thing. I don't have pyrotechnics here, but it's like cash grab, which, considering it's Capcom, ooh, wow, we didn't expect that. Lie. It's a problem for Capcom, because in theory it should work, but when you ultimately say, oh, if you wait till the end and you get the version that's on disc, even for PC, even for Steam, and that's another issue. I'll jump to that. Even for PC, the retail edition when it comes out in the shops, which is relatively slim pickings now, considering not many people do PC games in the retails, at least here in the UK. I don't know how popular of a wave it is in America. Probably not much. But even the PC release is going to have exclusive things on the disc edition that it isn't on the Steam version. Which then brings us to the other thing that affected the PC users, which was the promised raid co-op mode, so people can play with you, with a second player using a controller, either on a PC, like via a Steam box, let's say. So we know they're coming out. That's what's going to be announced at GDC this coming week. That could have been another video, but I'll wait until we react to it, because then I can spend 40 minutes ranting at you about VR and AR. And the reason why AR is good, because it's my initials. But regardless, it's the fact that it was added, then removed, then added again in the description on Steam, despite the feature not even being there. And I checked before I did this video on Sunday evening, The write-up saying local co-op still is there. They haven't even bothered to change it, even though it's a feature that isn't currently present. Just hands up. Don't shoot. Well, no, not that, but just throw your hands up in the air and just go, you idiots. Then again, as I say, you're Capcom, so why am I not surprised? Why else do you think Mighty Number 9 is now coming out as an independent game that people wanted and people backed with Kickstarter? If you had Capcom Kickstarters, some people would go, oh, well, I'm not backing this. I think the episodic approach is completely null and void when you tell people, by the way, if you wait a few weeks, you get more. You have to pay a little bit more money, but to be honest, in this era of $60 games, which somehow still exists, even though I think with the more and more financial situations that people are getting into, that's becoming more and more an unattainable target for people. Whoa, a lot of breath. An unattainable target for a lot of people to buy games at because they don't have that much money to spend every month, let's say. Think about the holidays. You know, you want 4 games, $240. You got $240 you're willing to spend in a month just on games when, you know, you need to live on food and water and heat and all that stuff? No! Stuff is going to get sacrificed. And that's where the games get... And that's why when games have their price drops, that's when people buy them. They don't seem to get round to that. I've talked about price and everything, though, in games. You know, we talked about it last week with the whole value for money of short games. That isn't the topic. It's so many topics that I need to cover. And so much time. That's not what I'm thinking. Anyway. The approach they're doing here doesn't make sense. Of course, the kings of episodic gaming are arguably Telltale Games. I mean, Walking Dead... Game of Thrones, Borderlands, The Wolf Among Us from the Fable series, even going back to like Back to the Future and Wallace and Gromit and Sam and Max, they know how to do episodic content. The really smart thing that they do is they announce we're doing this project, but the key thing is, unlike with the Capcom deal, they basically... When they say that the first episode is coming, they sort of give a vague time of the year. So they'll say, oh, sometime in the fall, sometime in the middle of summer, something like that. And then, with about 4 days to go, they do a press release on Friday saying, oh, by the way, the game's out on Tuesday. And, you know, that's the episodic content. So in that essence... you're leaving people hyped. And the thing is, they do this for every episode. So, people have played episode 1 of season 1 of The Walking Dead. They're like, oh, I want to play more. And hearing nothing. Which is leaving them clamoring, going, when will we hear news? When will we hear news? And then they come back, you know, a Friday, a month or so later, and go, oh, you waiting for episode 2? It's coming out this Tuesday. Boom, here's a trailer. They know how to do the marketing hype properly. And from what I've heard from a lot of reviewers and everything so far, barring a few exceptions for some people not being happy with certain episodes of certainly The Walking Dead and the Wolf Among Us ones, it's been overly positive. Mainly because the content that they create is more fitting for an episodic nature of release. It's as if it is like a TV series. They even did that with Resident Evil Revelations 1. It was split into episodes because because of course it originally came out with the 3DS. If you're on the 3DS, you want to be playing on that thing for about 5 hours straight. It makes sense to chop it into episodes, because then it's the whole encouragement of, right, you're playing a game, you've been playing it for 1 episode, just take a break, you know, step away for 20 minutes, and if you want to come back, you can, or you can come back tomorrow, or come back when you come to it. The whole aspect of the game coming out weekly then is just a fact of, oh, you know it's out Tuesday, you're going to play it on Tuesday. And, you know, it sort of does that with The Walking Dead to some extent, but it's less sort of forced upon you, because it's basically given to you when it's ready. It's not here's episode 1, here's episode 2, here's episode 3, here's episode 4 on a definitive set date. It's just a case of, oh, you want to know what happened to Clementine? Well, you have to wait. 6 weeks later, here's a trailer, it's coming out in 2 days. Or, you know, something like that. That's the real sort of, that's the way that episodic stuff really sort of is smart and makes sense. And, as I say, for a point-and-click style adventure, it fits. For something that's an action, shooter-orientated sort of aspect, I don't know whether an episodic nature actually fits Resident Evil in its form that it is for 2. You know, I understand for 1, and obviously it got ported over and became such a huge success that they basically went, okay, so the sequel, it's not only going to be on 3DS, because we realised at the time nobody was interested in a 3DS until they brought out the 3DS with the hard drive, which we'll still call the 3DS, but we'll have to differentiate it, so we'll copy Apple because they were idiots, and we'll call it the new 3DS. Except people in America will only get the big one. Yeah, I'm going into various different topics again. This is, you know, you try and take me on a straight line, I will go all around that straight line twice and then follow it, walk back, and then I guess I failed the sobriety test. I don't know. But, yeah, I hope everybody does play Resident Evil Revelations 2. To be honest, the best way is the way that gets you more stuff. You might have to pay more, or of course, if you wait a month or two, then all of a sudden around E3, it will be reduced. Ridiculously. Somewhere. Probably GameStop. I don't know. Oh, and those of you wondering, the dress colour is actually pink. And why do I know that? Look, it says so. It's in pink colour handwriting. Come on, guys.